premises. Warmly welcome to all of you. And I want to emphasize that it's really a uniquely interesting combination of distinguished participants in this Futures Clinic. There are professors, researchers, experts, chief economists, opinion leaders, doctoral students, citizens, NGO and company representatives together, which is the idea of Futures Clinic, to bring together human capital in a very diverse form. So let's start this Futures Clinic with a Futures provocation. And the provocation is about transformation through near-carbon energy and the third industrial revolution. About my background, I've been for 8 years professor of future studies at Finland Futures Research Center, and before that I was at VTT, chief research scientist in technology foresight, but I'm studying the impacts of technology on humans, on communities and on society. Now I'm research director and in charge of this futures part of the near-carbon energy project. And also already Pasi Vainikka as coordinator from VTT was mentioned, and we have also a professor from Lappeenranta University of Technology. I want to quickly introduce Christian Breyer, a professor of solar economy, and Olli Pyrynen, Sweden energy professor, and Jarmo Partanen, and also others. Please raise your hand, researchers involved in the project, because from VTT we have several also. And okay, so in each work group there are persons from the project, but otherwise the combination is very diverse. And I'm also president of the Finnish Society for Future Studies. We have 700 members, so if you are interested. And also I'm guest professor at University of Science and Technology of China. So this Futures provocation is part of the Futures Clinic process, which I have developed, and if somebody is interested, there is a scientific article describing this whole process. But by provocation I mean, provocation comes from Latin, pro plus vocare. Literally it means call forth. I'm calling forth very new ideas, courageous ideas, bold new ideas, making transition to a better world. So we are here to think very innovatively, very radically even, new combinations in order to generate innovations, and very openly. And also it is allowed to think differently in Futures research. And Futures Clinic is especially focused on transformation of futures, identifying uncertainties, tipping points, disruptions, and in order to generate innovations. So this means that we are strengthening and developing our futures thinking. I hope that at the end of the day you feel that you have stretched and expanded your own thinking about the future towards more systematically, consciously thinking about future alternatives and different options. And we can continue in June in Turku. There is a Finland Futures Research Center organizing international conference where several of us will be presenting more, and these results from this clinic will also be elaborated more in that conference. So please, you are all welcome. Future is about change. And thinking about the future means foresight, future studies, and it is very important. It is called strategic foresight. It is important because it gives competitive edge. And thinking about the future means that we are trying to monitor, identify the future, and also understand the future. I emphasize the plural form of futures. We are not just thinking about one monolithic future, and we are not predicting that this one monolithic future comes true. We are thinking about futures, plural futures. Here we have 4 scenarios that we are elaborating. There are even more, of course. 84,000 futures, even as our pioneer Yrjö Seppälä wrote one book about possible futures. Usually companies, organizations, they want to be on the safe side and emphasize what is the probable future. We can forget that now here, because it's not fruitful actually, because it locks us into a linear thinking model. It may be, of course, useful in some ways, but in this case, if we are trying to open up our thinking, trying to think about different alternatives, we should emphasize more what is possible future. And then we have a huge number of possible futures. Here is politics involved, and values and morals involved. What is the preferred future that we want? What is the preferred future for the energy system of Finland we want? We do horizon scanning in future studies, and as I mentioned, change is rapid, continuous. Megatrends are very effective, having an impact on how society, technology, economy develops. But we should also have a look at weaker signals, like weak signals, signs pointing to possibly emerging, strengthening issues, and also having a look at black swans that might be very sudden, unexpected events. And in the third session, we are using that approach. Professor Tim Gator, my colleague from Hawaii Future Research Institute, he actually says that the main task of future studies is to empower social change by liberating our thinking about alternative futures. And also he emphasizes that this preferred future is the goal that we should be aiming at. He says that all the scenarios that have been made in the world and will be made will fall into one of these four categories of scenarios. Growth, economy, well-being, whatever growth. That is very traditional way of doing scenarios, thinking what is growing and making growth scenarios. Another type of scenarios is collapse scenarios. These are like dystopias, some catastrophe happens, collapse scenarios. Discipline scenarios, these are like we are aiming at sustainable society, trying to avoid collapse. And the fourth category of scenarios is transformation. And this is the most demanding because it means evolving not only society but us as humans. Technology going like artificial intelligence and even space settlements, etc. And what is interesting, in this near carbon energy project, we are emphasizing this transformational scenario category. We are making four scenarios that all fit into this transformation category. And they are all based on renewable energy and pure society. So we are also including elements of growth, but in a different meaning. We are looking near growth. This is a concept introduced by late Professor Pentti Malaska. Actually, what kind of growth we want? We are not speaking about degrowth, we are speaking about near growth. If growth is such that it doesn't waste energy and resources, then it's very good to aim at. We are also have the title near carbon. What does it mean? Carbon has actually a new role in this new model that we are introducing. Of course, carbon emissions have to be reduced, but also we can think about how carbon can be integrated in this near carbon energy model, where renewable energy is stored into synthetic methane, then carbon from the atmosphere is introduced. We also emphasize a few concepts. Third industrial revolution that we are here focusing today, prosumerism, that consumers will become producers as well, and peer-to-peer society, horizontal networking activities gaining more emphasis. So we have this citizen lifestyle aspect here involved. But for the companies, this is a critical issue. How can Finnish businesses and businesses in general utilize these changes which are coming? It is important to stop. Tina mentioned that this schedule will be hectic, and it really will be hectic, but the idea is not to make you stressed, but to challenge your ideas so that you can indicate, express your ideas very freely, openly, and very immediately take all the ideas into discussion. But we have to stop sometimes. If we want to make a change, we have to stop and think what are the things that we want to actually get out of. And we are now living in Petropolis. I give you greetings from the Club of Rome conference in Switzerland. I last week attended that, and I met Professor Herbert Girardet, and he gave me his most recent book about creating regenerative cities. And he emphasizes that we are living in Petropolis based on fossil fuel use, production and consumption, instead of ecopolis, which should be our goal. This is because we are still living in linear metabolism centers model, where energy resources are used and waste produced. We need now a new urban systems theory that is more up to date and follow the nature's economy, which is actually defined by abundance if we think of it as an ecosystem. It is powered by solar energy, but this kind of new urban systems theory would also mean a lot for us humans. It means really a huge challenge to urbanize humanity and to arrive this kind of circular metabolism cities. We have circular economy concept, we could have circular society, circular cities concept. But how to make the change and transition? You never change things by fighting the existing reality. You are hitting your head on the wall. In order to change something, you must build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And this new model, if it's attractive enough, if it's reasonable from different points of view, that is the way to make the transition. A new carbon energy is such a new model. Another recent book I want to recommend to you is Lester Brown's Great Transition. So, since we started this project, a lot of things that have happened that actually support this kind of transition. Lester Brown has been president of Earth Policy Institute and is now retiring from the post of president. And he has published this book, Great Transition, where he anticipates rapid emergence of a new world energy economy. Because energy economy is now largely powered by coal and oil, but it will be increasingly powered by solar and wind energy and other renewables. We are witnessing actually a shift transition to renewable energy from push of several forces, not only economically, because the falling cost of renewables, but also technologically, electronic cars and other technical solutions will be available, and for this energy storage. Socially, there is actually an increasing opposition towards coal and nuclear power. And this is very often neglected, how strong this can be actually. In Japan, of course, after Fukushima, we had evidence for that. But geologically also, there is increasing limitations on the easy extraction of carbon-rich fossil fuels. They will not run out, but it will become more difficult, more expensive to extract those resources. And this transition and change is becoming a way of life. The very geography of the energy economy is of course changing, because we used to depend on oil from a few countries from Middle East. Now it has become more diversified, and this century shifting towards renewables, the energy economy essentially becomes localized. So our own power source can be on the roof above our heads. Perhaps Sitra will have very soon those kind of installations. But like any other major transition from one era to another, there will be always winners and losers. From a business vantage point of view, the companies that manufacture and install solar panels and wind turbines are expanding rapidly, of course. It's a logical link there. But what does this mean for the companies that are in the old business, fossil fuel business? They really should use foresight, strategic foresight, in order to reorganize their business activities and strategies. And this is what oil companies in Middle East are doing at the moment. So, biggest question facing civilization is, will this energy transition proceed fast enough for the world to avoid catastrophic climate change? And as the Industrial Revolution earlier set the stage for disrupting the Earth's climate, this new energy revolution is setting the stage for stabilizing it. And also this is important, this human point of view. How we view the world also includes restructuring how we view ourselves. So this kind of energy culture links to lifestyle, personal energy independence, or like personal energy footprint becomes more and more important. And we don't use the word impossible in future studies now. I've been teaching in master's program in future studies, and I've been using this kind of, I invite students to think about impossible things now and for the next 40 years. And then there is a list of impossible things, and we start deconstructing, and we realize actually they're possible, that on certain conditions they may become possible. Scenarios are not impossibilities, even though they may be very radical. But they are not impossibilities, they are not utopias. They are not predictions either. They are imaginative and bold explorations of futures. Arthur C. Clarke already 50 years ago said that if you find some prediction reasonable, then it is probably wrong. Because the future is not reasonable, it is fantastic. He means it's really full and open with possibilities. Another book, this may be the third book I want to emphasize. I got this from my colleague a few days ago from Venezuelan Jose Cordero from the Millennium Project. Actually, Osmo Kuusi is also involved in Helsinki node of the Millennium Project that we are running. Jose Cordero has written a book review on this clean disruption of energy and transportation. And he links these two, energy and transportation especially, together. And is this may be an impossibility for many, but he claims that as early as by 2030, all energy generation will be renewable, and all new cars will be self-driving or electric vehicles. This seems impossible because today only a very minor percentage is on renewables. But he claims that this is critical for the companies, that the current oil, nuclear, coal, electric utilities, conventional car industries also will be totally obliterated through this kind of transition, convergence of solar and wind with electric and autonomous vehicles. So it will be a clean disruption. And he claims that this is because actually the growth may be exponential. There will be exponential increases in production, and on the other hand, exponential decreases in costs. So he claims that even if today there is only 1%, probably or approximately solar energy capacity, it is just 7 doublings we need before reaching 100%. So if the growth would be exponential, so in production and also in decreasing costs, that would bring solar energy tsunami, and it would disrupt conventional energy and transportation systems. And actually this energy internet is very interesting because we don't really know what it really means and what are the impacts. At this moment it means that Robert Metcalfe, who introduced this concept, energy internet or Enernet as he calls it, it will allow us to connect the whole world and to increase, not reduce our energy consumption, because it will function like the internet. Everybody can tap into the internet and produce contents there. So In concrete terms, this may mean smart energy grid, but Sirkka claims that energy should also help the transition to clean energy and renewable sources, because new players and entrepreneurs come into the economy. And also we have case countries in this project. Africa, Joni Karjalainen, our project researcher, was first in South Africa, and we are having also Kenya and Tanzania in our analysis. We have China, and also we have been looking, I was in Argentina. So different kind of energy systems, politics, technical infrastructure, and how this new carbon energy model might work there. So actually, people in the developing countries, they might leapfrog the fossil fuel and utility infrastructure and move directly to intelligent distributed energy systems, like what happened in telephones, wired telephones. Not that stage at all, but directly to mobile phones. And today we are thinking about this third industrial revolution. It means renewable energy, storage of energy, new ways, energy internet, and also electric cars. And the 4 scenarios we have made. How many of you have had time to read through, or at least browse at the scenarios? Very good. Thank you, because I can tell you these are not very easy, because these are transformational scenarios, all of them. And they are placed on 2 axes. They all represent ecological awareness and all peer-to-peer society. So identification of weak signals and horizon scanning was done before this. So that's why we have placed these axes there and have 4 scenarios. I will go very quickly, and then we can have a look at the futures window and start working on these. Radical startups is a society organized as horizontal peer-to-peer networks, and enterprises have become places where people can best express themselves and do things that are really meaningful for them. Then we can think about in energy terms, what does it mean? Demand for energy is relatively high, but ubiquitous smart technologies and solutions provided by very high number of new startups mitigate the consumption. But on the other hand, ICT itself uses a lot of energy. The second scenario is value-oriented technology. These gigantic organizations like Google, Facebook, Apple, and some others, they have become very powerful players in society, almost self-sufficient entities, and they have a very clever plot. They want the workers to stay inside the premises. They have some hobby premises there and etc. But then people will also work for the company. And energy solutions in these kind of techemots may vary from company to company and have different kind of solutions. But there is a very high inequality aspect involved, because it may be so that these are handled nicely, these self-entities, very big complexes, but outside the infrastructure is poor. The third one is green, do-it-yourself engineers. There has been a very major ecological conflict or collapse. So to survive, very engineer-oriented citizens have organized themselves as local communities and actually using a lot of local energy, even off-grid solutions. The last one is the most transforming scenario, this new consciousness. So it may be the time horizon is even longer than 2050. And there are several factors: climate change, worsening, but also some hybrid warfare, etc. happening. But really moving on this axis of users' consciousness to the ultimate. So I conclude conclude here and say that if we want to have a transition, we have to make decision what is that we want from the future. If it's the transition towards renewable energies, we should aim high and be very ambitious. If we do not do the impossible, we shall be faced with the unthinkable. So thank you very much.